A very interesting comment and very other interesting comments, and we're going to do them all. This person says, maybe the US should conduct naval exercises around Hong Kong for you to get the point, because you are blinded and ignore the Taiwanese independence like a true imperialist. This is your favorite half Chinese. It's very interesting because this same person also says, indeed, those Jews came from Europe, but you are ignoring the fact that the Jews, no matter their origins, share an ancestral right to claim their homeland from the so-called Palestinian natives. The so-called Palestinian natives, they are literally Palestinian natives. Here we have the map of Europe and Israel. We can clearly see that it is nowhere near us, therefore it is not our homeland. Our homeland is somewhere in Europe, not in the Middle East, but it is the homeland of the Semites regardless of their faith. Our homeland is in Europe. From whatever part you are from, we do not share the same DNA as we are Europeans and not Semites. So if Europeans think it is okay to go over there to that region and kick Semites out of their home and steal their land, then that is the very definition of anti-Semitism, and I think it is needless to say that we all should oppose anti-Semitism. It is also imperialism and colonialism. So this person is okay with Europeans going to the Middle East and taking land away from the native people because he is under the impression that he has ancestral rights as a European on land of Semites who live roughly 3,000 kilometers away from Europe. But I will address some of his comments. But let's start with the first. According to this person, I am blinded and ignore Taiwan independence. Ironically, he also mentions the US. So let's see what the USA has to say about Taiwan independence first. Jimmy Carter, take it.
Good evening. I would like to read a joint communique which is being simultaneously issued in Peking at this very moment by the leaders of the People's Republic of China. The United States recognizes the government of the People's Republic of China as a sole legal government of China. The government of the United States of America acknowledges the Chinese position that there is but one China, and Taiwan is part of China.
So, I think that is very, very clear. The United States, my dear friend, does not agree with you. And now, on US relations, from American Institute Taiwan, they say also the following. The United States has a long-standing one China policy, which says that Taiwan is a part of China, for the people that don't know. We do not support Taiwan independence, so my dear friend, I think the US disagrees with you wholeheartedly. I think I am not so blinded after all. But we are not here yet, because we also have United Nations Resolution 2758 of 1971, which made the People's Republic of China the sole and legal owner of the whole of China, including Taiwan. Now, that is the United Nations. It looks pretty legal to me. But maybe it is not. So what do you need to be considered a country? To be considered a country in today's global political sphere, a territory must diplomatically recognized by 2/3 of the 193 members United Nations, including all 5 members of the United Nations Security Council's permanent members and 4 of its 10 rotating members, while some 12 countries, 11 United members, and Vatican City Holy See did recognize Taiwan as May 2024. So that means the overly vast majority do not. Only 11 United Nations members do out of the 193. And you need to have 2/3. You don't need to be a mad genius to understand that it is not being recognized as an independent or sovereign nation. And it says, as a result, although the Republic of China's ruling government was recognized as the rightful government of China by the United Nations from 1949 to 1971, when it occupied China's spot in the United Nations, Taiwan is currently not in the United Nations and is classified as only a territory. And guess whose territory they are classified as? As the People's Republic of China's territory. Then I have here the countries that recognize Taiwan as a sovereign nation. And those are 12 countries. That's Belize, Eswatini, Guatemala, Haiti, Marshall Islands, Palau, Paraguay, St. Kitts and Nevis, St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Tuvalu, and the Vatican City. None of those countries is the United States. As they state, it's only recognized by 12 countries, so it cannot be a sovereign country, no matter how many people want it. It is Chinese territory according to the rest of the world, including Ukraine, that you're waving the flag for on your profile, including the blue and white flag country that you use, and including the United States. See, none of them are on this list. Or am I too blinded to see them on this list? Did I miss them? I'm pretty sure that they're not on the list. Let me know if they're on this list and where, because I couldn't see it, but that's only if you disagree with me. Then I also have this license plate, which literally says here, Taiwan province. Would they say that if they were a country? Why do they call themselves a province all the time? It's so confusing. They should listen to you. Right? I'm pretty sure they wouldn't call Taiwan a province of China if they were a country, right? And definitely not if they were a sovereign nation. So feel free to disagree, but then you have to prove it to me as I prove everything to you. Then we also have the Constitution of Taiwan, which clearly states Republic of China and then Taiwan, because clearly they also agree that it is a province of China. It seems that nobody agrees with you that it is an independent sovereign nation, not even your own friends from the blue-white country that you think you have a right on. So there's no legality at all whatsoever. Now, in this comment, you claim that Europeans have the ancestral right on the land of Palestinians, while you do not share the same DNA, and you are totally different people, and you do not share the history, and nothing that you share with them. All you did is adapted one of the religions which is coming from that place. So let's use your argument in the case of Taiwan and the People's Republic of China. The Constitution of the Republic of China, as we can see here, mentions the words Chinese 7 times and the word China 65 times. They even call themselves China, or am I too blinded to see that? Is it not there? I'm pretty sure I saw it, right? And I'm pretty sure you did too. I'm just pretty sure that you cannot be honest about it. It seems to me they feel pretty much Chinese. That gives China an ancestral right to claim according to your own logic. Not to mention, we as Chinese from both sides of the strait, we share the same history, the same culture, the same languages, the same religions, the same features, the same families, the same ancestors, and even the same DNA. Surely, according to your own logic, the people of the People's Republic of China have an ancestral right to claim Taiwan, according to your own logic. As you do not share the same history, you do not share the same culture, you do not share the same languages, you do not share the same features, you do not share the same families, you do not share the same ancestors, and you do not share the same DNA as the people living in the Middle East, right there where you think that you have an ancestral right to claim the land of the native people of there. All you did was adapt one of their religions. and that gives you an ancestral right to claim, then surely the People's Republic of China and all the other Chinese have a right to claim Taiwan according to your own logic. Let's be honest here. And if you don't agree, you have to let me know in the comment section and argument it in normal language why we cannot. Because look here, according to the government of Taiwan, the Republic of China government relocates to Taiwan, followed by 1.2 million people from China. That pretty much says they are literally coming from the mainland, which means they are Chinese. Which means we, as Chinese people, according to your logic, have an ancestral right to take that land if it was only by your logic alone. You cannot deny it. And if you don't agree, then please enlighten us why you share nothing other than adopted their religion, and we as the Chinese are literally sharing our ancestors' DNA and so on, but we cannot. It sounds like an apartheid mindset. One set of rules for thee, but not for me. And then you have more mud that you try to throw at the wall and said this. Tell that to the 954 Taiwanese killed by the shelling. The Chinese shelled the Taiwanese territory of Kinmen and Matsu and clashed with Taiwanese troops in Tongting. A quick fact check confirms this. Oh, so I did. Quick search. Very interesting. See, I took it from the United States, so it will not be biased. Will be from a party that has nothing to do with it. Not sure why you mention an event from the Taiwan Straits Crisis 1954, 55 and 1958 when both sides, that includes Taiwan, was still in a hot civil war. Both sides were fighting each other. Why are you not being honest when you make a comment and say that both sides were fighting each other? You make it look like it's only the People's Republic of China that is fighting the other one and the other one is doing nothing. You are not being honest. But somehow I am not surprised. The importance of the islands in the Taiwan Strait was rooted in their geographic proximity to China and Taiwan and their role in the Chinese Civil War. Kinmen, 2 miles from the mainland Chinese city of Xiamen, look, 2 miles from the mainland Chinese city of Xiamen, and Matsu, 10 miles from the city of Fuzhou, are located approximately 100 miles west of Taiwan. When the nationalist government of the Republic of China under Chiang Kai-shek recognized that it had lost control of mainland China during the Chinese Civil War, listen to this, when he recognized that it had lost control of mainland China during the Chinese Civil War, the officials and part of the nationalist army fled to the island of Taiwan. Because you don't seem to believe the Chinese people on Taiwan when they say this exact same story. Maybe you believe it now since the US government is saying exactly the same. I'm sure you wouldn't believe the People's Republic of China, but I can guarantee you that they agree on that this is the event that exactly happened. And that also reiterates that they were in a civil war. It also says that they fled from the mainland to the island of Taiwan, which also was back then Chinese territory. And when they fled from China, from the mainland, it means they come from the mainland. When they come from the mainland, it means they are us and we are them. Therefore, China, the People's Republic of China, and all the Chinese have an ancestral right to claim Taiwan. We have more in common than you have with the natives of the land that you think that you can claim just because you adapted their religion. Just think about that. And then we continue. The officials and part of the nationalist army fled to the island of Taiwan, establishing troops on those two islands and the Dacian Islands further north. In the early 1950s, Chiang's forces launched minor attacks from Kinmen and Matsu against the coast of mainland China. You see, they were also attacking the mainland. So that they are being attacked in retaliation is quite normal or whatever. They are in a civil war. What is it that you do not understand? And why do you say I am blinded while you are being dishonest about our history, which you either clearly don't know, but you should, since you have such a huge opinion on it. Leadership on both sides of the strait continued to view the islands as a potential launching pad for an ROC invasion, which means the Republic of China, to retake the Chinese mainland and had an interest in controlling the islands. Do we see how it works all perfectly fine? Is it understandable now why the People's Republic of China would want to have their islands in their own control because another party is shelling the mainland? It clearly states that both sides were fighting each other and not just one side, because it was a civil war, which also proves that they are us and we are them against. Since you can only have a civil war between two parties of the same country. Makes sense, right? It also makes it really clear that it was Taiwan that is trying to retake the mainland that they lost. So I'm quite concerned that you have no problem with them shelling the mainland and wanting to take over the mainland, but you have a problem if it was the other way around. Very biased of you, and I'm very disappointed, but I'm not surprised at all. But what was the reason to bring up an event of more than 66 years ago? How is that relevant for today? There's no shelling whatsoever today. I also want to show you this map because you have no idea where Taiwan actually is. Look at the two red stars. Those are Kinmen and Matsu Islands. See where are they located? Next to Taiwan or a couple of kilometers of the mainland China. You can literally see Kinmen from the shore. It is that close. Let's move on. Then you say the following. You don't do a Navy exercise in someone else's territory as West Taiwan had done, since Taiwan is sovereign country, as their population have expressed time and time again. Well, it doesn't matter what their population says. They are just not. Just deal with it. Everything has already been proven. Taiwan does not see itself as Chinese territory. It actually does. It's also what we prove with their own constitution, which reads Republic of China. How much more clear must it be? Thus, China is not allowed to train in Taiwanese waters because that is the territory of a sovereign nation. Let's see what the United Nations had to say, since we have just proven what it was. I think they agree that it is Chinese
military drill that China holds around Taiwan right now. Is there any comment from your side?
On China, I can tell you that we're, of course, following the developments in the Taiwan Straits closely. We urge the relevant parties to refrain from acts that could escalate tensions in the region. And as you know, on the issue of China, we are guided by the General Assembly resolution of 1971.
You said the resolution of 1971. From what my history, from what I remember, is that's the resolution that changed Taiwan to China, to Communist China, right? The Republic of China to the People's Republic of China, the seat. Is that what you're referring to, and what does that mean in this context?
Well, it means in terms of our standing on Taiwan as a province of China.
I think they agree that Taiwan is Chinese territory, as they say that Taiwan is a province of China. And again, the map tell me which part of Taiwan Strait is not of the People's Republic of China, and why. If you don't agree with it, give me the evidence. According to the United Nations, the man says it is the territory of the People's Republic of China. It's very simple. What more do I have to say? And then you say, why should China be allowed to shell Taiwanese islands? Why should China violate Taiwanese airspace when Taiwan itself rejects China's reunification proposal? It would be like what Russia has done. No, it would not be what Russia has done. It would not be, because the two things are totally different. China, you see, is still in a civil war. The reunification proposal doesn't have anything to do with an airspace or right on territory. But let me show you this. And this is what they are talking about, the identification zone. And as you can clearly see, it is well over mainland China. Are you saying China is not allowed to fly over its own landmass over there because the identification zone is literally over their mainland? Maybe they should make it smaller then. I think we close this case too, right? It's so simple. And then you say, independence and closer relations with the United States and other Asian allies apart from the People's Republic of China, as is expected from a sovereign and independent nation which has been recognized in all but name. Guess who Taiwan's biggest trading partner is? That is the People's Republic of China. There is no other country that has such close relations with the People's Republic of China as the People's Republic of China. And that is because Taiwan is a part of China. Therefore, the People's Republic of China will always make sure that the Chinese living on the Chinese island, Taiwan, will come nothing short. Well, in what shape or form and by which legal bodies is Taiwan being recognized as a sovereign nation? Please answer it. There's no legal standard and no legal basis, and the overly vast majority of the world does not recognize Taiwan as an independent country. Not even the United States, not even Israel, not even Ukraine. All the countries you love, and not even Europe. So unless you can prove me otherwise, this case is closed. I hope you can be man enough to apologize to me for saying that I'm too blinded. Maybe it was somebody else who was too blinded. I hope you all liked the video, and if it was informative for you and of any value, please like, share, and if you have not yet, then follow. This was your favorite Half Chinese, and as always, have a great day.